one of the offers I have in addition to the Stampin' Up! Mini is if you purchase your mini through me through March 15th, use the host code and I will send you 2 free class tutorials. One for the Sweet as a Peach bundle. You will get the tutorials, a tutorial for cards, a card set with Sweet as a Peach, also a card set with Hydrangea Haven. So just be sure to use the host code. It goes through March 15th. And as with anything, if you're considering the mini, you want to do it sooner than later so that you're not disappointed. And all right, so my friends, let's give a cheers, a toast to the weekend. Let's get the fun started, right? All right, so as I said, most of the projects or both of the projects today revolve around this little machine, the Mini, which is mighty. Don't be deceived by its size. It is a nice little machine. It saves lots of space on my crafty table. I love having it right on the table with me as I'm crafting along. I don't have to go over to another station. Right now during the sale, it's only $48. And the nice thing about it is that you can do virtually everything you can with the standard size machine. It does have a slightly smaller platform, so some of the larger dies or the full size folders don't fit, but there are lots of bundles and folders that do fit through the Mini. Those are the ones included in the sale. And it does just as nice a job as the standard size machine. It is very easy to use. I try to give tips and suggestions on the right way to sandwich and try to pass it through. And the cool thing too is there's a numbering system so you know how to build your sandwich and pass everything through. And when you're all done, or if you're taking a craft or a retreat or any kind of event outside your home, you can always pack it up and tote it off. It weighs very little. It's got the little rubber feet so it stays stable on the table. It is my best friend, and I have several on the craft table when I have classes or workshops or my team meetings. So again, this is a good time to consider adding the Mini to your collection. And so the promotion that I've been talking about, it's called Savings Are in Bloom. There's the Mini and the bundles that are included. So there's a full page of bundles, so it's all squared away on sale for $40. And I've highlighted the bundles that have been resurrected: the Art Gallery, the Celebrate Sunflowers, and the Garden Wishes. When you check them in the calendar, they are no longer a bundle, but during this promotion, you can save your 20% by getting the stamp set and the dies together. And instead of paying $56 for Art Gallery, you would pay only $44.75. For Celebrate Sunflowers, instead of $57, it would be $45.50. For Garden Wishes, instead of $57, it's $45.50 as well. Plus, we have other bundles on promotion as well. The Beauty of Friendship bundle. And my friends, we're talking about most of my favorites on this page. There's Hydrangea Haven, and of course you will get a free tutorial if you buy your Mini through me through the 15th. There is Pansy Patch bundle, the Quiet Meadow bundle, the Seascape bundle, the Sweet as a Peach bundle. You get a tutorial for that class as well. The Welcoming Window bundle, What's Cooking bundle, and the Wildcats bundle. So all of these are discounted. You save a total of 20% on the bundles through the end of the month. But don't wait till the bitter end. You want to buy sooner rather than later. All right, so I mentioned I'm using the bundles that are on promotion and the Mini. And here is my first card I'm going to share with you. It is featuring Celebrate Sunflowers. And this entire card can be cut on the Mini. I'm going to share with you how I did it and what all the steps were along with the measurements to create this Thanks a Bunch card. So let's take it away. Let's talk about the bundle. So let's see, we've got Celebrate Sunflowers. It has the coordinating dies called sunflower dies. That's what we're going to be using to create the card. And you might see in the background, thank you, Sandy. You might see in the background there is some script writing. I have coordinated with Very Versailles. There's a beautiful scripty stamp on here that's in the background of the Celebrate Sunflowers card. And let's see, let's talk about some of the accessories. You might also notice the lattice that's in the background. That comes from the paper lattice accessory pouch, and you get quite a few in this little pouch. Adds a really pretty element to lots of designs. I like the garden feel to it. Let's see my color scheme here. I'm going to try and share with you all the supplies. And then we're going to get started creating. So I'm going to bring out, and I pre-mounted my stamps on the acrylic blocks, so I don't have to scramble looking for those. My color scheme here. So this kind of looks green, doesn't it? My label for my crumb cake has discolored, but that is going to be crumb cake and early espresso. Those are the two inks we're using. And I've also done a little bit of edging on this label using the Lovely Labels Pick-a-Punch. So that's how I got that little edging on that label there. And we're going to do a little bit of daubering and a little bit of cutting and stamping. So let's start with the materials as well. Let's see, we are going to use a piece of crumb cake that measures 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. We need about a 3-inch wide piece of, let's see, bumblebee, and be careful on the bumblebee. This beautiful yellow is going to be retiring in just a couple months. It's one of the 2022 in colors that's going to be going away. We also need a little strip of, let's see, Pear Pizzazz. That's what I die cut my leaves in. I am using a tiny piece of the shimmery white. That's for the center of the flower. You're going to see how we transform that. And then I've got a small snippet that's only about 1/2 inch wide for a basic white for that greeting. And that's what we need to get started. Let's do some stamping and some die cutting. So let's see, I've got my greeting from the stamp set. It says, "Thanks a bunch." This has been stamped in early espresso. So let's go ahead and do our stamping here. And again, it's about 1/2 inch wide, and I just had a snip. I save all my little scraps. So these scraps come in handy when I have greetings that are wide and narrow. So I've got that done. I am going to need that early espresso for some daubering in just a few minutes. So let's see. I'm going to put that aside here. We're going to add a little bit of color. Hello, Gabby. Gabby's one of my team members I'm excited to see tomorrow. Lots of swapping and pretty things to be shared tomorrow. All right, we're going to do some stamping on our crumb cake cardstock using crumb cake ink. So I'm going to set that aside. We're going to need that for die cutting. Stamped that, and I'm going to go ahead and fold it down my card. This is going to be just standard card size, standard fold with the fold on the left. And I'm going to ink up my stamp that comes from Very Versailles. This is that scripty stamp, and it's tone on tone, so it's just creating a very subtle background. And I'm going to just stamp all across the card front. And I can try to line it up. It's not critical because this is just creating a little background. So I'm just trying to make sure that the lettering, the script is straight across. Sometimes when I write, I tend to lean up or down depending on what I'm writing on. So I'm just trying to make this a little bit straight. It's not, as I said, it's not critical that it's perfect. So I've created a little background, and again, it's tone on tone. Hello, Betty from Wisconsin. How is the weather in Wisconsin today? I spoke with a girlfriend in Michigan, and they're going to be having a heat wave of nearly 60 degrees this weekend, or maybe it's today, I can't remember. All right, so we've got our stamping completed. So we did our background, we did our label. Let's do some die cutting and punching. So let's get our little label created, and I'm just going to snip that down to size. And I am picking the lovely labels, Pick a Punch. There's two choices on here. There's lots of widths that you can select, and then there's two different ends that you can choose. And I'm going to choose the one that's more flat than curved at the top. And this measures probably about 1/2 inch wide. Supposed to be 50 tomorrow, so that's kind of a nice wintry day. Not too cold, not too warm, my kind of weather. All right, right there, and I'm going to pull that out. See if I like that. Yep, that's about right. Tomorrow it's going to be 50. So it's already evening for you, right, Betty? It's pretty late. There we go. So I have my little ends snipped off there, and I could even go a tad bit shorter. And that's the beauty of this Pick-a-Punch. I can reinsert it and trim off just a little bit more. There's just a little bit more border than I'd like. So I'm going to trim that down just a tiny bit. And there we go. That's better. I like that. So I'm going to put that aside. And let's do our die cutting on the mini. So I'm going to push this aside. I'm going to bring in first my bumblebee paper. And this can all be accomplished on the mini. Just fold down the platform. Let's see, I need my pads. And the mini comes with 4 plates. They are numbered. So number 1 is the basic platform. That's what I'm going to need to cut with. And it tells you right on here. That's what I love about this system. Numbered, and it's going to give directions, and it's right on the platform. It's 6:15. Yeah, so it's coming to be the Friday night. Yay. Perfect time. I love Friday night. It's the best day of the week. All right, so then I need plate number 2. I need one of my cutting pads. And then I need my paper. Let me slide this out so you can see a little bit better. And I'm going to put my sunflower die cut on this. I'm going to need 2 of these. And then I need another standard plate, number 2, on top. Now, the mini does come with another plate that's gray. It's numbered 4. This is what we need for embossing. So there is a sandwich built right on, or labeled, or right on the plate, so you'll know how to create the sandwich for embossing and for die cutting. Thank you, Gabby. I love the sunflowers. It's been a little while since I pulled them out. I love that Stampin' Up! Brought the promotion back. They are bundled, and it's a discount, so you don't have to pay separately. You get that discount for buying the stamp set and dies at the same time. Now what I'm doing, I'm building the sandwich staggered. I do not want to align this perfectly. That's what makes it really difficult to pass through the machine. Now I have one more tip. Lots of crafters are struggling a little bit because the mini is so light. If you put down a silicone mat on your tabletop, it helps to stabilize it and keep it from wiggling around the table. And then I'm just going to start cranking through, and hopefully I can get started here. Let me see if I've got that pushed right. And just the important thing is to stagger. Let's see if that'll go. And things always go wrong on camera. Why is that? I usually don't struggle at all with this mini. Like I said, one of my BFFs. Thank you, Sandy. You like that silicone mat suggestion? It helps. Again, the mini is so lightweight. And what I'm doing, I'm going up and back. This is a very detailed die. So I'm just going to do a couple of turns, and let's check it. When I flip that over, I can see everything has been cut. What I'm going to do is push that out. And before I do my second one, let me show you my next step. I am going to bring in my tool. It's my Take Your Pick tool with the brush tip. And what I'm going to do, and I have a little box that I've inserted the mats onto so it catches all of those pieces so I don't have too much of a mess on the floor. And I'm just going to rub with the brush to kick out all of those little edges, all the ends, and the little holes here. And so then I take the other tip of the Take Your Pick and poke out anything that still remains. And one more thing, there are lots of little tiny spots in the flower, and I'm just going to make sure all those pieces are kicked out. Now to release the die from the, or to release the die cut from the die, there's one little piece that's not quite out. Let's see if I can pull that out. And let me pull on that. So to release it from the die, all I'm going to do is take my Take Your Pick and poke through a couple of these little holes in the die. That pushes the die cut out of the die. And there you go. So I've got one. I'm going to need two, right? And I think I have one pre-cut, so you don't have to watch me do a second. I've got that taken care of. So I've got two flowers. I'm also going to need 3 leaves. Let me take that away. I'm going to bring back the mini, and I'm going to grab my die for the leaf. I'm going to have 3 of these in Pear Pizzazz. So this is a strip about 1.25 inches wide. And I'm getting kind of crowded here. That's one of the things. I can have everything at my tabletop ready to go right within my fingertips. Love that. So I'm going to do the same kind of a sandwich, cutting pad, platform cutting pad, paper, die, cutting pad. And again, up and back. See, that one went a lot easier. And I'm going to take that out, bring in my, I'm not sure if you can see this off camera, I'm going to bring that in and just kick out those pieces there. And again, the same thing, I just release by putting the Take Your Pick tool right through those little spots. It kicks out the cardstock. And there's our pretty die. Isn't that gorgeous? So delicate. And I need 3 of those. And let's see if I did a couple of them ahead of time. I did. So I've got 3 of those. And then the next thing I mentioned, I have my shimmery white, and I am going to cut the center of my flower. So let me see, I'm going to put my dies away because sometimes when they're small, they get lost on the tabletop. So now I have the center of the flower, and it's got some little spots right in the middle. And again, this is shimmery white. I'm just going to put that die right in there, put the plate on top, and pass it through. And, you know, I think the mini likes it when the top plate is the one that juts out the most. So that's what I usually try to do. And so I need 2 of these. I have 2 flowers, so I need 2 flower centers. And this one, I'm just going to poke it through with that Take Your Pick. There we go. All right, and I'm going to put that there so I don't lose it. Now I'm going to put the mini aside. So easy. Fold up the platform. I like to put the plates right inside here so they're where I need them, when I need them. Ha! There's a novel thought, right? All right. My drink, by the way, is delicious. It is the Vanilla Sky, my favorite. And my mixologist is getting quite proficient at creating my happy hour drinks. All right, so let's see. Let's have a look. I've got my card base. I've got my 2 flowers. I've got 2 flower centers and 3 leaves. Oh, and can you hear Winston in the background? There is mail delivery, and the post deliverer brought the mail right to the door and drops it through the slot, and that just sends my junkyard dog in a frenzy because he's on duty. He's always on duty, All right, so let's do a little bit of coloring here. I'm gonna bring in my early espresso, and I have a dauber. I am just going to add some color. Let's see, and I'm going to put down a little scrap paper so that I don't want to get my grid paper all soiled already. So I am going to, and I'm going to bring my, take your pick tool and hold that down, and I'm going to add some color to my flower center, just like so. Ooh. Just putting some early espresso color on there. Now, you're gonna ask, like, why didn't I just start with early espresso paper, right? And the reason is the shimmery paper has that little bit of sparkle that peeks through. And I didn't really want a solid color. I wanted it more texturized. So I just wanted to add my color with the dauber. And the next thing I'm gonna do the same around the flower center. I am going to bring in my dauber and add a little bit of color around the flower center with the dauber. So right here in the center here, I'm just gonna bring in and spread that dark early espresso around the flower center, just like so. And I love the detailing on this die, just gorgeous. First of all, the size of the sunflowers is just the right size. Boom, it's like, you've got to love sunflowers. They are just gorgeous. Now I noticed that there are a couple of spots where the little dies, the cut didn't pop through, so I've got some hanging pieces in there. I really like the way it looks when you have all the little holes in the sunflower. So I just take my tool and poke that through, pull those off, and there you go. Okay, so I think I have most of the fixins, the makings for my card. Let's see what I can do. Now my last thing, I'm gonna bring in one of these paper lattice embellishments, accessories, I guess. And they're this really pretty crafty color. They do have little spots on them. So I'm gonna bring in my, let's see, my silicone mat, and there is a difference in the side, so take a look at the side of the paper lattice and see which one you prefer. And I'm going to add a little tiny dab of liquid glue in these little areas that have a solid center. So that's where my glue is going to go. It's flat adhesive. I'm just going to put the tiniest little dot here. And this gets layered onto the card base right here, and it's pretty much centered. So I've got about half an inch on each side. It's a little bit less on top and bottom, and I can see a little piece that needs to be kicked out up here. There we go. That little hanging chad. They're always a problem, aren't they? All right, so I've got my card base done. Isn't that cool? Love the paper lattice. And again, this little packet, you get 10 of them. They're very reasonably priced. I think they're like $5 or $6 for all 10. And they add this really nice backdrop to the flowers. So next I'm going to add one of my sunflowers, and this one's gonna be flat adhered. This one goes up at the top. Right, so just putting a little bit of adhesive around that more solid area, and it's going to go all the way to the top left, and that gets put down. And I'm just going to use a little bit of pressure and a little bit of just a couple minutes or a couple seconds so that it adheres and it doesn't move right away. Now I'm going to add my next flower with dimensionals. And I think, let's see, I've got a little supply here. These are the mini dimensionals. So I'm going to bring in dimensionals on that more solid area of the flower. And I'm just going to put about maybe 4. Whoops, a little bit of static. Just like so. And I'll do one more. So this one gets adhered at the lower right. and it's going to have a little bit more height than the other one because I put those dimensionals on. And I'm going almost aligned to the right and the base of the card. Now I'm going to add my flower centers, and one is going to be adhered with one dimensional, and then on the other one I'm going to double stack it so that it stacks up a little bit higher than the flower itself, because remember this one's up on dimensionals, so I'm going to double stack here, and it's really going to make a nice center to the flower, right, like so. Goes right in the flower center there. Now I've got my three pear pizzazz leaves, and these are just going to be flat adhered. I'm going to put a little dot of liquid glue in the wider areas of the die cut so that it sticks down, and just the tiniest little bit. And this one's going to go up between here. There we go. And these two are going to get stacked kind of together. I'm going to put them on together. So I'm going to arrange them, and then I'm just going to flip them over and use my adhesive here. And let's see. The sunflowers are gorgeous in many colors. I have seen them done even in a blue. And though they probably don't grow in nature that way, they look just gorgeous. And this one's going to go right below. And again, I'm going abutting almost to the edge of the card. There we go. And one more thing to do, we're going to add our greeting. And that is going to go on with dimensionals as well. So I'm going to just turn that over. Whoops, my hands are a little bit sticky. And I'm going to add some dimensionals on the back, maybe 3. I love the minis. They tend to go far, and they're just the right size to fit on the narrower pieces. And I'm just going to put this right through here, above that little flower center. And there we go. It's a thanks a bunch using the Celebrate Sunflowers, and it's showcasing the bumblebee, which is going to be retiring, that pretty lattice, paper lattice background, and the gorgeous Celebrate Sunflower dies. Really pretty. What do you think? Is it a thank you card you'd like to get? Always need those thank yous, right? So there we go. 2 of the thanks a bunch in the Celebrate Sunflowers. I'm going to go ahead and put these makings away so I don't get too crowded on my tabletop, and I'll share with you the second card we're making today. So it's a 2 for Friday. Both of the cards are featuring bundles that are on special, and of course the star of the month is the Mini but Mighty Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So there's my Celebrate Sunflowers. Let's get started with our second card. Also, I think a fun card, and this one's a birthday card. Let's see, I'm going to push these aside, put it right there, and let's see. Let me get set up. I'll move this out of the way. And this one is featuring the Wildcats. So have a wild birthday. It is a triangle easel card. So it goes like this, and it can sit on the tabletop desktop, opened up. So it's a nice reminder. It says have a wild birthday, featuring the Wildcats and Big Cats dies. And then on the inside, it says, you're the beast. So, you know me, I love a pun, right? So this one also features the pretty coordinating paper that goes with the bundle called In the Wild. Lots of different patterns. I love the cats, and so cool that the dies will cut the cats in the paper. And I'm using some of my favorites in the paper, of course, the Big Cats and that pretty flower. It looks like a jungle type flower to me. And yeah, it's a really fun card to make and very easy with that triangle easel there. So when you send it off, it's flat. When it's received, it'll stand up like so on the desktop. So let me share with you how I created this. And I'll give you a couple of tips as I go along. The Wild Cats stamp set has the beautiful cats, and it is two-step stamping so that you can stamp in a different contrasting color. You can stamp in the face, either in the tiger stripes or the jaguar spots, and it's got some nice plant life. It's got the stripes, and of course the greetings that are perfect for the wild cats. So thanks, you're the beast, have a wild birthday, you are fierce, and then we've got hello and there for you always. So really fun stamp set, and this is perfect for either manly cards or youthful cards. The coordinating dies, as I said, they will cut the cats that are in the paper, and we are going to be doing some of that. So what I've got going on here, this is Evening Evergreen, and it has been cut in the half sheet, but the other orientation. So this is a vertical card. It measures 4 1/4 across, 11 inches high. I've got a piece of basic white that measures 4 by 5 1/4. That goes on the inside of the card. I have a piece of the pattern paper, same measurement, 4 1/4 by, 5 1/4 by 4, and I'm going to be trimming that down into the triangle as well. I have a cutting from the Designer Series paper. We've got the tiger looking left, and then the tiger on all fours. And in the pretty colors, the soft succulent, the evening evergreen, the crushed curry, and the Cajun craze. And then I have a stitched rectangle die cut. Now the stitched rectangles, this one would pass through on the mini, but not all of the rectangles will. There are a couple that are bigger than the mini itself. And let's see, I've got some other pieces here. I have a scrap of white that's going to be stamped and die cut. I have a short or small snippet of the spots in Evening Evergreen and Soft Succulent. The big cats are on the reverse side. I just need a tiny scrap, and I need some adhesive. I've just cut a rectangle. I'm going to be attaching the pattern paper to this, and then we're going to die cut our letters that say wild, because the stamp set says have a wild birthday, but I chose to accent the wild with my playful letters dies. So I'm also introducing those. They are, playful alphabet dies. You've got all the alphabet and some punctuation marks and the numbers. Perfect set, easily passes through the mini. So we're going to be using those. And okay, let's get started, I think. Let's do some stamping. Let me bring in my colors. I'll show you what I'm using. And I've got my stamps all mounted and ready to go as well. And my color scheme is going to be Soft Succulent and Evening Evergreen. These are in colors 2021 to 23. So these are still going to be around the next calendar, or the next catalog for one more year. And then I've got my dies handy that we are going to be doing some cutting on that mini again. So let's start off with constructing the card base and the triangle easel. So I'm going to score this. I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Trimmer. And let's see. Now it's getting a little bit messy. I'm going to bring in my trimmer. I don't need to extend the arm. I just need to see up to the 5 1/2. Let me make sure I've got a little bit of space here. And I'm going to be scoring, so I want to make sure that I have that cutting blade out of the way. I'm going to bring this up to 5 1/2, which is the halfway point, and I'm going to score. And then next, I'm going to create that triangle that's going to make the easel. And when you look at the card, take note of where the cut needs to go. It needs to start at the lower left and go up to the upper right, or the other way around, upper right to lower left. It would be a different card if you started at the upper left. So it would look a little bit different. It's always hard for me to wrap my brain around the alternatives. So this is the one I'm doing. It starts at lower left, and I'm going to go ahead and fold that down so I can see that score line a little bit better. Let's see if I can bring in my light. So on the trimmer, I am just going to place that score right on the track, or on the ditch or the gutter, whatever you want to call it, of the Stampin' trimmer. This tool is so useful. It's my #1 essential tool, the Stampin' trimmer. It's got the scoring blade on it, the cutting blade on it. And so now I'm just going to score up. I want a nice score line. So I'm not sure if you can see. Anyway, it's going to be able to be folded like so, right on the score line. I'll use my bone folder in just a minute to burnish. While I have my trimmer out, I'm going to go ahead and do my pattern paper, which is going to be only on the lower portion of that rectangle. So when it's flat, you can see the upper portion is just solid cardstock. I've got the triangle going down at the bottom. Now, if you have pattern paper that has an orientation to it, you want to pay attention to that so that you put it on the trimmer correctly. And you also want to pay attention to where you're going to start your triangle, because we would get different shapes if we cut this way as opposed to this way. We're going to do, in essence, we're going to repeat what we just did, starting at the lower left and going up to the upper right. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on my trimmer the same way I did with the base. And I'm just going to put that right on the gutter, and I'm going to go ahead, and this one I don't want to score, I want to cut. There we go. So I've got 2 pieces, and I can save this for another project. It's one of my favorite patterns in that paper pack, so I certainly don't want to toss that. And I'm going to put that aside to avoid confusion, and I'm going to help myself out here and go ahead and flat adhere this to the card base. And let's see, I am going to bring in my silicone mat, bring in my seal, put a little bit of adhesive on the back here, right through here. Oops, get it started. I am loving my seal these days. So this is going to be adhered, and I'm going to make sure that it's aligned to the score. I'm going to have a slight border at the bottom and to the right. Just being careful to align that. There we go. So that's constructed. And you can see it's almost coming together. I'm going to be able to angle that up. And let's see, what else can I take care of here? I'm going to go ahead and stamp and create the inside of the card, which when you open it up, it's got the little greeting in the lower right. And I've got a die cut here that's going to keep it standing up that way. So pretty cool. I love the way it stands up. It's great for displaying. And you know, when our peeps receive the handmade cards, they tend to stay around, as opposed to a store-bought card, which gets discarded probably the day after. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stamp, and I'm taking the stamp from the stamp set. It actually says, "Thanks, you're the beast," but I only want that bottom portion with the serif font that says "You're the beast." So I'm going to bring in my ink, and that ink would be the darker tone, the Evening Evergreen. And I'm just going to ink up again. That's that bottom part of the greeting. So I'm being really careful. I'm going to bring the ink pad in close and just ink up the lower part of the stamp. And if you're not confident, you could just use a marker to ink up, or you could mask off the top. You could use masking tape, you could use a Post-it note. I'm just gonna wing it because that's the way I roll. And if I muff it up, you know, I can always turn it over. That's always at the back of my head. You can always turn it over for the second side. There you go. You're the beast. Now I'm going to go ahead and ink up my plant. I'm not quite sure what kind of plant it is. Some kind of little jungle type plant. And I'm going to stamp in the same color, Evening Evergreen. This is going to be die cut, so no hand snipping needed. And right there. All right, so perfect. That's going to be cut. And I have a little bit more stamping to do. And let's see, I'm going to reserve that till after I put my letters in place. So let's see. I am going to be doing some die cutting. So let's get the ink put aside so I don't get inky. I'm going to leave my silicone mat in place because I'm going to put my mini on there to cut. So let's set up again. And we're going to put the platform down and bring in plate number 1. We will bring in our plant, put it on top of a plate number 2, get our die, which is included in the Big Cats die set. Now, I tend to just lay the die over. Some crafters like to be really precise and don't want it to wiggle, and they will use washi tape to hold it in place. And sometimes that's necessary, sometimes it's not. Take a guess which one I side with. I don't think it's necessary because I'm not the perfectionist. So I think it's going to come out. I think it's going to be okay. And I think it is. There are a couple of cutouts there, and to me it's perfect. So I'm just going to put that aside. I'm going to put my die away before I have any chance of losing it. And I'm going to bring in my letters that are die cut for the wild. So I have a W-I-L-D. And let's see, I'm going to bring that back here. And I'm going to share with you the reason I'm die cutting the wild. So I'm looking for my greeting, which actually says, have a wild birthday. So the wild is already built into that greeting, but I wanted to accent it. And so I'm doing the large playful letters wild, and I'm using the leopard spots. And because they're going to be adhered and I want some dimension on them, instead of trying to snip many dimensionals, I'm just going to use the adhesive sheets, make my life simpler. I'm just going to take off the one side of it, attach the patterned paper, and now I'm going to put my wild on here. And I'm going to share with you, my paper's bigger than the sheet, so I'm going to trim that off, make it a little bit easier to mount correctly. There we go. So a little bit smaller. I need my W. There is an I that has the little dot, and the D, and the L. And that's all going to get stacked on there. I'm going to go ahead and use my cutting plate. So this is going to get staggered. Let's see if I can flip it over so it'll pass through first. And it's going to push through, even though it's got a little bit of thickness to it because of the adhesive sheet. It's going to fight me. There we go. So, oops, the W slipped. See, this is when you need your washi, but I'm going to be the rebel and not use it. Push it through, put it on the silicone mat, and here we go. All right, so I'm just going to crank it through, up and then back. All right, so I'm going to pull that off, and flipping it over, I can see that the letters have been cut through. You can see the shape of all of them. I'm going to put that aside for now because I'm going to cut my cats directly from the paper. And here's the thing. That sheet of paper has, let let's see, oh, I don't have it handy. Some of the cats are facing right and some of the cats are facing left. And if you will notice, this is a right facing cat. And so I need to, oh, I do have that backwards. So what I'm saying is the die will not match on the cat, but I've got a little trick. It doesn't come out perfect, but I'm going to share with you how I did it. And I'm going to just snip this off. First, I'm going to do the sitting cat. And I'm just going to lay that over top and cut away. And let's see. All right, so there's my sitting cat die cut. So got that. And let me share with you how I got the cat facing the opposite direction. So let me put this one away. Let's see, I'm getting too many dies here. I don't want to lose them. Put that away. And I'm going to need a special tool. Let me grab that. And so my trick is going to involve a piercing mat. I'm going to take a stylus, and this could be one end of your take your pick tool. And what I'm going to do is put this die. See, right now the cutting portion is facing up, and of course to cut it needs to be facing down, which isn't going to do. So what I've done is placed it right over top of the cat where I would want to cut. And I'm going to take my stylus and I am going to press down and create an indentation. And it worked. Of course, when I wasn't on camera, we'll see how it goes while I'm on camera. All I did was create an indentation on the outline of the die so that I'll know where this needs to rest when I flip it over. And I'm going to do, this is step one, is the outline. And I'm trying hard to press in here and make sure it's along the edge. And I find this helpful because I don't want to waste half, it would be more than half of the cats in the paper stack. And this isn't the only paper this happens to. It happened with the reindeers at Christmas time as well. All right, so step one was to do the outline. Now I'm going to take the same stylus and I am going to just run it on the inside of the die. Whoops, kind of shifted. And here's where, you know, you always have the option of using washi tape, and I just might use it in just a second when I'm going to be doing the die cutting. So what I'm doing is soft embossing so that I have a guide of where the die needs to be placed when I flip it over. And as I said, we're going to see if it works on camera. It worked off camera, but that's fingers crossed. Okay, so, and let's see if I can bring that light in. You can see it better on camera than I can see it live. So you can see the indentations there. When I flip it over, I am going to put the die in place, and I'm looking for the soft embossed edges and the inner cut there. So fingers crossed I've got a decent job of this, because we're going to go with it. And it's kind of hard to see, as I say. It's a dark pattern with the die, but we're going to give it a go. Okay, so what I'm going to do is hold that down. I'm going to grab a piece of washi tape. Oh, I shifted that as I was reaching for the washi tape. And I'm looking for the edge of the washi tape next. There we go. And I don't want this to tear my paper, so I'm just going to do a little bit of detacking. And again, let me get that back into position. So let's see if I can bring it off camera to the light. It's more helpful for me. And sorry that I'm not right in front of you. I'm just trying to use my light to push that into place. And trying to be careful. I really want it to work out on camera. And let's see. I took so much time to find it in place here, so I'm back. And I'm still wanting more light here. So by this point you might say, well, why doesn't she just hand snip it, right? It's not the same. We're gonna give it, no, it's at an angle. I think I'm just gonna go with it. Ah. All right, let me try that down. The aha moment came when I realized I didn't have the right glasses on either. So having the right glasses on is helpful as well. And I'm going to put that down on the platform and let's give it a go. Let's see what's going to happen. So at least it's cutting through. Thank you, Debbie. I needed that. Oh, I love it, Debbie. I need the support here. Thank you. It might be a hoot. We'll see. I'm going to be really careful taking off the washi tape. And let's do the reveal. Let's check and see what happened here. And voila! It's not bad, right? Yay! Okay. Oh, it's the little things. Okay, I'm really pleased it came out half decent. So you can see there's a slight difference. This is facing the right way, obviously. This one has a little bit of white around certain areas, but I'm perfectly okay with it. If you are the perfectionist crafter, and I understand, but I'm telling you, that to me is a win. Let's see. Thank you, Betty. All right, so let's see. Now we're ready to do some more assembly, but hurry before I lose my parts, right? Because I'm already looking around for my plant. And that happened when I was making my original too. I think it's gonna show up just like, where is it? It's on the tabletop someplace. Wow. It doesn't take me long. This in just a minute. There. And let's see. So I've got some sticky on both sides. This is going to go right on the inside of the card. And I've got about 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. There. So put that aside. I'm going to work on my focal point, which happens to be here. So my original is a little bit different. I've got this soft succulent tiger and the Cajun craze tiger. This one, it's a little bit different. I've got a crushed curry and the soft succulent. Now let's construct that greeting, which says, have a wild birthday. And so what I'm going to do once again is just stamp or ink up a portion of the greeting. So I only want the have a for one side. So I'm just going to be really careful and just ink up have a. And again, if you're not confident, you can mask. You could even stamp and snip and piece it together, but I'm just going to do it this way. I live dangerously, right? Okay, so there's have a, and now I'm going to do the second half. At the other end is birthday, right, like so. And this goes to the right. And again, I'm going to have about maybe 3/8 of an inch border right there. Oops, I should have cleaned the stamp, but it worked out okay. It always does. Okay, so I'm going to put the Evening Evergreen away. And let's see, I am going to build my wilds. So I'm going to go ahead and take off. And what I like to do for these letters, once I put the adhesive sheet on there, I like to take the entire piece out with the letter, with the die. So I've got my D, which could also be a P. I have my L. Uh-oh, my I popped out. Didn't want that to happen, but it did. So I've got my stem, and then I need my dot for the I. I'm going to push that out, and I'm hoping, see, it's stuck on my finger. I hope I don't lose it. And then I need my capital W, and that's just right there. And that's rubbish. So this is comical. I am looking in the trash can for my plant. What happened to it? Let's see. Let's keep going because it'll show up, right? I'm going to put my little dies away. I do not want to lose these. So there are my letters. And I need my P. And I'm going to use my take your pick to push through the center of the letter. And then also to release the letter. I'm going to push that through, sorry. And there's my D, and then my L. Okay, let's get going on this. And let's do a little bit of stamping as well. Oh, let me put my wish in. I'm trying to do it in the same sequence so I don't get confused. So what I like to do is do the beginning of the word and then do the end of the word so I can space in between. So I'm going to have about, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch gap in here. And it's going to go almost to the base. Right there. And then I'm going to do my D, which goes closer to the birthday. I still want my same baseline though, so I'm going to bring that in here. And then I'm going to space out my L and my I. And these are tricky because they have adhesive on them, so that's kind of hard to move around. They've got a little bit of stickiness to them. So there, I'm going to get my L, peel off the backing. I love the adhesive sheets for this. They're perfect for the little letters. So right here, and again, I'm going to stick with the same baseline. Let's kind of align that correctly. I'm going to go ahead and put my I, the stem of the I down. And then I'm going to do my, whoops, it's a little bit crooked. Then I'm going to do my dot to my I. And this one's tricky because I want to, there we go, use, it's probably a little bit higher. There we go. So have a wild birthday, and my cats are going to be walking atop some soft succulent greenery. So I'm going to go ahead and open up, and you'll notice I am stamping on my silicone mat. As long as I have a little bit of cush, I'm happy. And I'm going to just ink up and do some random stamping with the little trio of leaves, and just go kind of all the way across. Because the jungle has lots of greenery. And it's random. I'm not spacing any particular way. There we go. And then I want to do a second layer because the cat's going to be walking through this greenery. And a little bit up here. All right, so there are my leaves and soft succulent. I'm still looking for that die cut of the plant that we did. What happens? All right, so I might have to do another one. It's not showing up. My cats are going to be attached with mini dimensionals. So let me get my sheet of mini dimensionals. And let's see, on the back, and oh dear, I want to use another adhesive. Let me run and grab it. Okay, and so what I've got are the foam adhesive strips, and they're little tiny, like 1/8 of an inch wide, and I can trim them down to whatever size I want. These are perfect for those little long, narrow pieces like legs of an animal. So instead of trying to trim down a mini dimensional or even a dimensional, I'm just using these strips, which have been cut into about 1/2 inch pieces. They're going to go right onto the legs and onto the tail, because I just want a little bit of support on there. I want it popped up. And then I've got front legs also that need securing there. And here. All right, so I also want to use my mini dimensionals around the body, and then kind of like the neck here. Let's give him some support. And then also the sitting tiger. So I have to confess, these wildcats, when the first time I saw them, they did not make my list. It took a couple of months into the catalog before they landed on my order, and then of course at my front door. And I love them because they're a nice alternative to all the flowers and all the pretties. And of course we need cards for all different kinds of peeps, not just people who like the same as we do. So, and that's why I like to have the juvenile ones on hand, the bold ones, the soft, subtle, flowery ones. They're all perfect for the card stash. And just all these little pieces that need to be removed. Okay, so now my little wildcat is going to be walking, and just like so. And then my sitting cat. So the comical thing is that when I am cleaning up, I will find that plant that I die cut. It's not funny. What happens here? And I want him kind of close. He's going to kind of have his tail right over that W, just like so. Okay, so this gets attached to the card base, and here's what you need to look out for. So first of all, we do not want the upper portion of the triangle attached. We only want to attach along this portion of the card front. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring in my Tombow liquid glue, and rather than putting the glue on the back of this piece, I'm going to put the glue right on here. I'm going to note where my rectangle begins and ends, and I'm just going to come in here and apply some liquid glue, generous. Notice I've got a nice wide border, and this kind of goes right centered in here under my Teflon. So I thought, thank you, Betty, for helping. Let's have a look in a second. Okay, let me mount this, and then I'm going to have a look right here. And I think, Betty, you speak from experience. So that's usually how we learn, right? So let me check. I'm going to grab my silicone mat and see if it is under there. I'm going to give it a try. Okay, so what I've done, look how it's going to stand here. No adhesive on the back, only on the lower portion, and it's almost standing on its own. I just need that plant there to stop the card from slipping down. So let's have a look. So the other solution would be to just stamp and cut another one, right? Let's find my silicone mat, which now has gone, it had 2 feet and it walked off. And a good thought, Betty, but it's not there. And it's not on the piercing mat. So what I could do is clean up while you're here and locate it. Or like I said, we can always just stamp another because, let's see. All I need is, so ink and paper are cheap, right? So I'm just going to take this scrap. Thank you, Sandy. Glad you like the design. I like the triangle easel. Fun folds are always fun. And so it's nice to switch it up a little once in a while. Okay, so like I said, paper and ink are cheap. So let's take this away. Let's just stamp another one and cut another one. Hopefully I haven't lost the die. And there we go. I'm just going to ink up. And this one's probably going to come out even better, right? Oh my gosh, this one's going to be so much prettier than the original one. There we go. And I need to cut this. And Betty, I even checked under my mini to see if maybe it got stuck at the bottom. Sorry for that loud noise in your ears. To see if it got stuck at the bottom. But hey, you can see the little rubber feet there that keep that gripped onto the countertop. I'm just going to go ahead and cut. And so you know the sandwich. I need that #1 platform. I need my #2 cutting pad. I need my paper. I need a die, and look at this, how organized I am. It's right here in my little box. Put that right over top. Let's see, it's hard to see upside down. Right, like so. Right there. Okay, so right here, you know how stressful the week has been. It's kind of nice to just relax, no pressure, and stamp and create, right? This is just, and that's actually how my site came to be, called Just Stamp, because when I started, I was a teacher in the classroom. I needed to kind of relax and calm down after a day in the classroom with first 6-year-olds, then 10-year-olds. And it was so nice to just sit down and just stamp. And that's how my name came to be. And it still is so, even though I'm not in the classroom. Anytime things get too chaotic, too stressful, I just like to sit down, rest, relax, and just stamp. All right, so my friends, we have our plant, and I think it's so much nicer than the one that I had originally. I'm gonna quick put a couple of dimensionals on the back and secure that down onto the card. And as I said, for the next one, I'll be ready to go because I already have a plant. And what I like to do, I did want to put this kind of on its side. And all that is like kind of like a little doorstop to keep the card in place. And there you go. There's my Have a Wild Birthday, You're the Beast card. And that's what I call, and I don't even know if that's the actual name for it. It's what I'm calling it. It's a tri-fold easel card. Triangle easel card, and I think it's pretty cute myself. I think it's kind of manly, kind of for anyone, right, who likes beautiful cats and who has a birthday, right? So there's my 2 cards. There's my birthday card and my Thanks a Bunch, thank you card, featuring the Celebrate Sunflowers and the wild cats. I think it looks so much cuter when it's standing. And there you go. All right, my friends. So the sale on the mini is on through the end of the month. If you want to purchase your mini while it's on sale, it's only $48 on sale. If you purchase it through me using the host code, I will send you the tutorial for 2 classes, one with the Sweet as a Peach and one with the Hydrangea Haven. bundles, and you will be all set to create. And here is that host code that you need. Let me make some little space here. So there's my host code for the small but mighty, or mini but mighty, Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and purchase it by March 15th through me using this host code. I will send you the tutorials for both of those classes, and plus you have a lot of options on the bundles at 20% off, and all of these bundles are compatible with the mini cut and emboss machine. So thank you so much for joining me and bearing with me through my my struggle to cut that reverse tiger. Now you know how I do it, and you can give it a try too. I've seen others do it differently. This one I thought made sense to me as long as I've got my right glasses on. And it comes out pretty close there, much better than hand snipping. So I hope you give the fun fold a try as well. Have a great weekend too, Betty. Thank you so much for joining me. Sandy, happy weekend. Yay! All right, just stamp.